Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Submission Subs. Not because they're giving us money, but because we just ate their pretty good subs.
Yeah, it was tasty.
Yeah.
It was good. They're good. And cheers. Tell me what this is.
Okay, so you're doing this thing where you poured some liquid that's unknown to me.
I'm just going to start buying weird stuff.
I should start doing that too. I don't really ever think about doing that.
So I saw this. Don't drink it yet.
It smells like water.
It's
I don't have a good sense of smell, so maybe that's me. But
okay. Give it a try. I bought it. I've never seen it before.
no,
It
I
doesn't smell like
smell
much.
literally nothing.
You might not taste anything either.
Tastes a bit like coconut water, a little bit.
A little bit sweet.
I also burnt my tongue today, so I don't have the ability to taste much sweet. But
What'd you burn it on?
tea,
Oh, that's horrible.
kind of a fruity taste, maybe like a kiwi or something.
All
or,
I'm getting is sweetness.
oh,
It probably wasn't amazing eating a sub right before.
no,
But you can taste it's sweeter than regular water. I don't find it good.
no, it just tastes like water to
Like
me.
I would just drink regular water because I don't need sweet water.
It's like heavily diluted coconut / kiwi strawberry kind of taste to it. But super mild.
I just got a taste of what it should have been. That one hit the right part of my tongue.
Okay, so what is it?
It is President's Choice, organic.
Maple water?
Yeah.
No, it's not maple water.
Well, it is.
No, it's not maple water. I can get you some maple water. This is nothing like that.
Well, yeah, I know. I've had it, but I've never seen it in stores. But they're advertising it as something that's quintessentially Canadian.
It,
Harvested in Canada, only in the springtime, PC Organics 100% maple water is naturally sweet and refreshing. A delicious beverage. It's also great for making popsicles or use in baking recipes. No sugar added.
okay, so they're full of shit. There's something going on here. This is maybe, like, for one, I don't taste any maple, but maybe it's because my tongue's burnt. That's fine. But this is like if you took a tap, put it in your maple tree, you collected whatever, the maple water, and then you diluted it with about a 50-to-1 ratio.
Well,
with
it's
water.
very diluted.
It's incredibly diluted.
And I think the reason why it's incredibly diluted is so that way they're not breaking the sugar barrier.
This is water.
Yes, but I tried something with Melissa the other day. There's peanut punch. It's always in the
Peanut punch.
the
International food. aisle.
international section, and the way it's advertised is like that could either be good or really bad. So she and I bought one. It was like $1, and we tried it, and it tasted like a peanut butter milkshake.
That sounds pretty good.
It was tasty. It was
could go
very
with that.
tasty.
It's kind of. I think I did the same thing with the aloe water and all that kind of stuff, and it's an interesting thing to try as a white people.
And I would have that again over this because just to me, I mean, it's just sweet water.
No,
I was disappointed when I bought it, but I figured I'd let you try it.
it's a disappointment. That's for sure.
I bought it specifically for this. And
Well,
again, it was about $1.
I should supply some actual maple water, and we'll.
Do you want to do a shot of maple syrup?
No, you're crazy. You and my dad just doing. I don't. I'm surprised. It's funny that he tried to get you to do that because I would say right away if I knew he was going to do that, you would be the person that would try to do it. But yeah, no, shots of maple syrup, like homemade, super dark, thick maple syrup. That
Firstly,
sounds
it was
terrible to me.
tasty.
Yeah, of course, diabetically tasty.
Yes, that's why. Obviously, I only did one. I liked your dad, so I couldn't say no.
He's a character.
Yes. So for him to say, do a shot of maple syrup, there was nothing at that point, your brother's writing a TV show. Mm-hmm. You could write a TV show about this TV show.
You could. Not so much, I guess, necessarily the TV show, but my family. The funny thing is, you just met my immediate family. You have never seen my extended family. Tila knows a little bit about them, but
well, that makes sense.
And things have changed too. Like that household that you were in, at one time was occupied by about somewhere between 15 and 20 family members simultaneously.
That's what your dad was saying.
Yeah, and sometimes more. If a bunch of people came over, lots of cousins and all that.
He said if I had came at Christmas years ago, it would have just been filled with people that were taking time out of their family. He was drunk when he explained it, but
yeah, it was something. It's definitely a sense of nostalgia because I was too young even when it was at its craziest. Because there'd be all aunts and uncles and stuff all over inside the house, and you walk out and there'd be another set of uncles and cousins are all smoking and drinking in the garage and getting up to antics with, I don't know, like somebody brought a motorcycle or whatever, and then everybody's just having a good time. And it was like that every time I went up, pretty much until maybe like the age of like 12 or so. So when I was younger, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Things change over time too. Is there like a certain side of your family that you just haven't seen like over a decade?
Yes and no. It's not as simple as that, unfortunately. As you know, I have a relatively colored family history. There's been a lot of drama here and there. The side of my family that I don't see very often is actually the namesake side, the Dulster side. See, my grandmother was married twice. She was married twice she was married to a non-Dulster, then a Dulster. So
okay.
her namesake and the entire namesake now is from a second marriage. I'm closer and know a lot more people from the first marriage than I do the actual Dulster side because of family splits. Apparently with a second marriage and wills and whatnot, things get a little bit difficult. So there is a entire line of Dulsters that I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I've met, because when I was younger, and I'm talking young, like younger than 5, everything was fine. And then there were a few that slipped through the cracks. Like I have an aunt and one of my dad's brothers of the Dulster side that kept in touch when my parents split up, and they are probably the closest. And now with Facebook, I'm friends with a lot of the Dulsters, but a good chunk of them I've probably never talked to in person in a adult sense.
No. Things change a lot too.
They do.
I got a strange sense of disrespect from cousins when I had become a teenager. I didn't see them that often, but it was very strange how they treated me as a teenager. It was very dismissive, and I didn't like it, but it went away instantaneously because I didn't see them for so long, and then years later I came back and I was an adult now, and
it changes when you're an adult. I think now the drama, being vague, the drama has disappeared. The Dulsters, some of the Dulsters are now on speaking terms, so it is a little bit nicer. I think it's weird. There's horribly written movies out there where somebody dies, right? And they're like, oh, I wish I had done more, or whatever. I wish I was nice to so-and-so. And you think, well, that's cheesy.
It's also selfish because you're doing it for the good of yourself and the way you want yourself to feel a certain way, but you didn't really act in accordance of your morals. That's an indication of.
Yes. And then when you see it in real life, and it all depends on how it's worded. I think that's the key. When my grandmother, the matriarchal Dulster, died, matriarchal, the mother, Grandma Dulster, One of the last things she'd said to me in person wasn't, I wish, but was, get in touch with them. So it was less selfish, more, I don't want to say deathbed epiphany because I hate seeing that in movies, but she listed specific people that she had issues with and arguments with in the past, family members. And she had specifically said to me and to my father to get in touch with them. It was too late for her. And I don't think that that's selfish, but to make a family stronger, there's definite merit there. And we have since reached out. There's been death and more. Basically, whenever there's a will involved, there always seems to be some sort of drama, unless you're lucky.
If you're poor and then nobody has any money anyway,
Yes.
so it's fine.
There is that as well.
Yeah.
So it, I'm just going to say when you do that, you totally block my camera. 100%.
Maybe we should position the camera somewhere else.
If you want to lean, I can move it a little bit over.
That's okay. I'll sit a little bit further back and I'll move the mic closer to me because I like being close to my mic. We gotta stop doing such tight shots. We've been doing it for too long now.
I like the tight ones.
It's okay. It's okay.
Especially when we don't have a GoPro
Somebody-
to go wide to.
This is early in the episode. Somebody please give a damn opinion about the camera angles. What do you think? Because nobody ever gives feedback on anything. Maybe it's because it's too late in the episode when I ask questions, but
Rebecca,
we'll get somebody
when
by
you're
name.
listening to this,
This is on you.
this is on you.
You gotta tell us.
What do you think? Give us your professional opinion. How do we look? How can we change things? Do you want to be closer to our faces or further away? Do you want to see more of us or just our eyes? Let me know.
Height adjustment too.
Pardon?
Height adjustment is also a thing because we're shooting slightly. Well, my camera's slightly above my head height, and yours is pretty much in line with your head.
Bah,
Forehead.
ish.
Ish.
No, family drama. It'd be nice if there wasn't any.
I don't know. Drama is just another thing that it gives humans purpose, meaning. It gives you something to do. There's a lot of it more on my mother's side, and
Why is
come
that?
to think of, because somebody accused somebody of legal wrongdoings that are so far in the past and so arbitrary, and now there's huge disputes over money or child custody.
Yeah,
and
that's
crazy
one of
things
the
like
things that drove the Dulsters away. Something in the past, money wasn't distributed properly. There was
In this case, I don't think anybody even had any money to redistribute. It was just fucking all in a gesture, which is worse because then you fuck up the entire family for something that's never going to benefit anybody. It's crazy.
it happens.
And come to think of it, I have an aunt that's very weird and nosy and trying to get into contact, I guess, with me before and stuff like that once this whole drama went down, because I was still quite young at the time. Maybe she watches this because it's a way to get information about
Say
things.
hi.
Or to vicariously learn about me, which is interesting. I don't really care. I don't really intend on contacting you, but
Hi, Eric's
But hello.
estranged aunt.
yeah.
Aunt. You said aunt. Did you say
I don't know
aunt?
what I said. I don't care. That's fine. Yeah, the shit happens.
It does. And time marches on.
There's almost a level of non-interest after you haven't had somebody in your life for over a decade, and it is also selfish, but I don't really see their presence in my life benefiting me at all, and also anything that they could perceive as me being in their life benefiting them is probably just nostalgia at that point, because they perhaps knew me when I was a child.
Yep. Some of the ones that I have, or I know, I have seen them a handful of times in the past. I'll say in the past 20 years, but even in the past decade. The past decade's been more so than in the 20 years, but they're so little. They don't know. They haven't met Melissa, which she's
More
only
of
been
a
around 14 months.
More of a recent development.
Yes. But, I mean, they never met Jessica. So we stay in touch, try to stay in touch. But it's hard because they're not in the family or overall routine. When something big happens, they're not the first ones I tell because as you said, they've been gone for so long. They're family.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, family is important, and they've always
Kind
been.
of. As a general rule, though, I don't really. There's a lot of cultures that really get on behind this idea that blood relationships are like they're critically important, but I don't really see it that way. I don't think it means much, just in and of itself.
Well, there's actions. They were never rude or negative to me. It was
That's
just
good.
it was just the situation. And when you're a young kid and somebody tells people, like, we're done, we're not associating, you can't go against their wishes, especially to go after to try to make a relationship with a estranged nephew, even. Like, I mean, the nephew's a young child, so I think it's actions. That's why, like, it's nice when family is a relative term. It's nice when Melissa calls you and Tila family. You're not blood, but you're important to
No,
her.
that's much more important. The people that you choose to associate with out of not just free will, but just like an actual gravitation towards them. That is very important. That can be just as important as the closest members of your actual relative family.
Yes.
I mean, who are you going to see more often in your day-to-day life for the most part? It's going to be friends over family, because a lot of people tend to travel around a lot.
Or to live away from family.
Yeah.
How did your parents enjoy the wine tour?
So they liked it, I think. I don't know how exactly it happened, but my mom got tickets through something online, and it was just it was through Johnny Rocco's or something. Like, that's the main thing. It's got a hotel room there, and they were gonna check out the restaurant.
Hotel room at the Stone Mill,
Yeah.
and then Johnny Rocco's the restaurant.
And it didn't go to plan because the weather was crazy on the weekend.
Yes.
Crazy gust of wind on the Sunday. Knocked power out at the building. Power was out all through the hotel. They didn't open the restaurant. You couldn't go in there, so they skipped that part. Although they had done a wine tasting earlier in the day indoors somewhere. They went to the...
Should just gave everybody a ton of wine. And
Yeah. They went to the keg, apparently, and met up with another couple, and I guess they chatted away and had a good night doing that, and I think they went to another
Your
wine
parents
tasting
would be good
later.
at chatting.
They are. Well, yeah. My dad's very socially outgoing, and my mom, maybe she enjoyed it. I'll have to talk to her about it later, but yeah, no, they apparently had a good time. It's weird, because I made a bunch of they went to the Early Bird restaurant, too.
Nice.
It feels weird for them coming, and they didn't really want to listen to me. I was kind of making, like, gestures like, I know all of the places here. This is, like, just where I live.
They asked my opinion, too.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, I knew when you had said yesterday that you were meeting with them, I knew they had said they went. They asked if I thought the Stone Mill was expensive.
You said that it wasn't, and I said that it was. To them.
See, it's good. It's tasty. The only thing that I've only ever had there is tapas.
Yeah,
Melissa
which
and I
is what
went.
most of the students go for.
Yeah.
Because it's cheap.
And I didn't find it that expensive.
Okay. Well, maybe that's fine. I went in for a plate of pasta once. I don't know what exactly I ordered, but I didn't walk out of there for less than like $40-something, and I don't think it was a good meal. Like, I could have gotten better.
They make really good pizza, though.
Anywhere else.
I've never
Maybe.
had their pasta. Every wedding, I've done
It's
a
an
lot of
Italian
weddings
place.
there.
It should be good.
Yes, but their pizza is a star.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to maybe try something else if I went there. Although,
That's why the tapas is at least good, because you get to sample a lot.
yeah, maybe that's the night that I'd have to
We
go.
could
on.
all go,
We could.
except for Tila, because she's working midnights. Not midnights, nights. Hi, Tila. I like it. She likes messaging us whenever her name is mentioned.
Oh yeah, and she's paying attention to it now quite a bit.
Yeah.
Connor mentioned her like 10 times when he was on.
Yes.
What's up with Connor? Have you talked to him since then?
Sporadically, he's been really busy. He still wants to take me out for my birthday.
Nice.
That's how busy it's been.
You guys are still watching James Bond
Yes.
together? Which one was the last one you watched? Oh, you gotta look.
Good question. I can't remember.
It's okay. That's fine. Then
We're on to Pierce Brosnan. We're
Nice.
just about to hit,
You're gonna get some good stuff now.
and then some bad stuff,
Man.
and then some good stuff again.
Some good stuff.
No, it has been a journey, and wait, what is it? Because it sounds stupid.
You can't keep talking if you're gonna walk away from the microphone. Anyways, James Bond is definitely a series of films and I guess novels, although I haven't read the novels, that I quite enjoy. although it's from a strange origin because I really got introduced to James Bond through the Nintendo 64 game, GoldenEye, quite good, based on a movie that's also quite good. And
Which is what we're about to watch.
Oh, GoldenEye, yeah. Yeah. I'd say it's pretty good. That is a very fancy set for the movies. Are the discs in there, or is it just pictures? Oh, yeah, they're in there. Okay. It's kind of, for many of the films that are not so great, it's kind of like polishing a turd to put them in such a fancy box.
I'm stupid.
Are you?
I couldn't remember the name. License to Kill.
Oh, okay. Probably one of the
Which-
most popular ones.
Not only there's a lot of movies to watch. When I grew up, I'd seen like Casino Royale was the first one I saw in theaters.
Really?
Yes.
Well, in theaters, that makes
Yes.
some sense.
It was not the first one I saw, but it was the first one I saw in theaters. So I loved Casino Royale.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
See, From Russia with Love.
Also great.
You Only Live Twice. So a bunch of them, Die Another Day, basically all the Pierce Brosnan ones, I had on DVD. And I eventually had collected pretty much all the DVDs, but to watch through all of them, we had this happen. We had that same beeping an episode ago. Anyways, some of them you watch more than others. So I've in my past I've watched all of them at least once, but License to Kill is one that I hadn't watched probably more than once. And Connor and I watched it, and we both agreed that's the best one out of all the ones that we watched.
Really?
Like, it was really good. The jokes, like the effects were really good. The jokes, when there were puns or whatever, were good. The action was great. So it mixed very, very well.
I think I've seen it, but I don't recall it quite clearly. They're all sort of melded into each other at this point.
That's also the problem that Connor and I are having. We've stopped doing them back to back because then it becomes a problem. What did we watch last time? I can't remember. At least this one, it's easy because it's the one right before Pierce Brosnan pops in. But the thing that's amazing to watch them from the beginning to the end is, one, how awkward the Sean Connery ones can be, because he is not shy about hitting women.
But I just love the weird mysticism of a different time.
It is cool,
Yeah.
but you can see it's amazing that these haven't caught flack.
Yeah.
When Baby It's Cold Outside gets issues, you would think, well, he's strangling women.
The funny thing is pop culture, because that song still gets radio play.
It did. It
Whereas-
got pulled for about a week and a half.
Millennials with fucking 40 piercings and like
I guess millennials aren't watching
apochromatic
James Bond,
hair are not going back to watch James Bond and Sean Connery.
which is fine because
I love the casual brutality of some of the old ones too, like just throwing a
slap,
fucking toaster
throwing-
into
yeah.
the bathtub. That's so good.
the thing from a creative standpoint that I love is going back to, yeah, they are nice. Going back to the originals.
Right.
So my
1962.
Sean Connery.
Beautiful artwork.
So with Dr. No, they didn't know what they had. They
No,
knew they
not a
had
clue.
some successful books that people loved, but when they did the James Bond theme, they thought it sounds good. They didn't know that was going to be iconic.
And
They had the gun barrel sequence where he walks and he shoots. They're like, this is cool.
It's iconic.
Now, when it's not in a movie, people get pissed.
A lot of the success probably of Aston Martin might have something to do with James Bond. I don't know. I don't want to own any Aston Martin other than like a classic one, because frankly they're pieces of shit. But that's cool. It's a cool fucking car.
Yes. I think any car manufacturer that gets in with any type of movie, they almost have to, because they never know what's going to catch on. Could you imagine? I mean, I can't fathom how many people own late 60s, early 70s Dodge Chargers because of the Dukes of Hazzard,
Probably a lot of people.
right? Yeah. And that's great for Dodge.
Yeah. I mean, buying past cars isn't necessarily good other than keeping your brand established in the market.
which is important.
I guess.
And same with the Aston Martin. Or, I mean, now Sony kind of owns Bond. He uses a lot of Sony products. His phone is always Sony.
Yeah, I could see Bond being a cold-hearted Sony user. There's nobody that pledges allegiance to Sony other than, like, reptilian people. Sony's a very blah brand.
And Heineken.
Heineken.
Bond is a Heineken Bond. Or Daniel Craig is a Heineken Bond.
I don't think I could think of a beer that necessarily suits Bond best anyways.
It's funny that no vodka has like, I don't picture James Bond being a Smirnoff person, but
Sky vodka.
yeah, but that hasn't happened either.
Doesn't really matter.
I wonder if it's on my shelf.
What do you have on your shelf? Possibly, theoretically on your shelf. Nobody can see the shelf, so you could just lie.
Yes, I know, but if I have it, I'd show you. Give me a sec.
Oh no, I gotta divert the attention again. I do not. I don't really care if they try to establish brands with something that already exists. I think it's sort of the coincidence of Bond coming about and Aston Martin making a deal, and I think it could have been a Jaguar instead if something fell through. There was some weird circumstance where it could have been something different, which would have essentially changed the iconic vehicle associated with Bond. Why have you flipped that the other way? I need the screen to face me. Perfect. Okay, so you picked the thing up.
Yes, I was wrong. I found this in a geocache when I was geocaching. Smirnoff has had a sponsorship with James Bond.
Oh. Strange.
So it's the full From Russia with Love novel, but it's sponsored by Smirnoff.
Meh. It's a weird branding thing.
It is.
What did you put in the geocache in place of it?
A copy of the geocaching movie we made.
That's fucking...
What?
That's unethical.
Why?
Self-promoting. You're basically getting two benefits. You're getting an item and you get to promote your shit.
I never benefited from it because I wasn't the director. I was just a cameraman. Nobody cares about a cameraman in a student documentary.
Fair enough. Who directed it? Just some other
A
student.
friend of mine named Mike Hicks. Very talented director, very funny. It's the only we weren't expecting to find this, but when I found it, it's
cool.
like I need to have it.
It's cool.
You put a DVD in, a DVD for a book. It was a fully
For a DVD that I think few people would want to watch, although you at least have the market cornered on the only people that might possibly want to watch
I know
it.
that's the best way of marketing it. Oh, what'd you get in the geocache? A DVD. What about a geocaching DVD?
A DVD that explains the thing I'm doing.
Well,
Perfect.
it shows that you're not alone. It was a neat documentary.
It's like sticking the transmission assembly information for a car behind the transmission and the engine, so when you're dismounting it, you have the information required to do the job.
It wasn't a how-to documentary. It showed... Actually, the documentary itself showed very little specifics about each geocache. Like we found the original Canadian geocache.
I want to go geocaching again. I got to do it.
We should go. I would do it.
I think I'm not going to like something about the app when I use it. I want to...
I didn't... The last time I used the app, I wasn't exactly a fan.
I'd like to start geocaches because that's something I've never done. I've always just hit ones that already exist. I want to start one because I feel like you could cater what kind of things you get by where you put it and where you disseminate the information. Like, I'm on construction sites. If I can get construction workers to geocache, which I kind of doubt it, but if I could, it'd be cool. Or if they're not the ones that use it, but perhaps the people who are moving into the subdivisions, it'd be interesting too, because I know that it's mostly people from like Toronto and the big cities coming in.
That's true.
It'd be different. Just like how geocaches up north, where my family cottages are quite different as well.
That was the neat thing. I think I've said this before, but shooting the geocaching documentary when we were in Toronto one time, actually talked about it 2 weeks ago at one of the recording studios, the soundproof recording studios. The director of the geocaching documentary opened up the app a busy street in Toronto and showed how many geocaches were right there.
There's a lot.
And then he's like, look at this. Walked up to a tree.
Just a jar in the tree. Yeah.
Like, most people would just ignore that.
Yep. Pretty much, things are often hung from trees. Things are often stuck in the base of a tree if you can find somewhere around there. Under rocks, under bricks. Lots of common hiding spots.
We should do like a Mystery Science Theater episode where we watch the geocaching documentary and my pièce de la résistance, my drain cleaner short film.
That'd be funny. I guess we've never done any live commentary quite like that before. We're going to have an audio signal and all sorts of things.
We could, though, I think.
It'd be more views that you would get on that than there ever were before.
I don't know if you noticed. I did something last week.
I didn't notice.
Okay, I did a little test. It should be finished.
Finished test. Is it something to do with us advertising stuff on Facebook?
No. I would have said we were going to pay for podcast advertisements, but we didn't.
Which I don't even... we might have done that like once so far.
We did for
411?
Niagara 411.
Yeah.
Which just continues to slowly climb on its own.
Fantastic Facebook page. Go check out Niagara 411.
He's almost at 30,000.
He deserves it.
He does.
Useful information for those that live in the region or want to know things about the Niagara region.
Well, it's weird because yesterday I was with Melissa and I was driving her to work and there was a fire, I think on Church Street in Welland. And we wanted to know what was up. And so we didn't even the conversation was, gee, I wonder what's up. Check Niagara 411.
Yep.
There's no question. Like, I wonder how many people are like that. We have a closer relationship to the person than a lot of people, which is weird because we only really met him once. Stay in touch. But in my mind, his work is
quite exceptional.
Quite exceptional.
Nobody else is doing it.
When there's something happening, I'm not going to tune into the radio. I'm going to say, hey, check Niagara 411.
If only there was a way to tune into that live in my car in audio format, but he doesn't do that.
Not yet.
Should hire a radio broadcaster. Be cool.
No, he'll just use citrus.fm, as we mentioned 2 weeks ago, and start his own radio. Broadcast it.
I still don't know how the hell that works, and it seems like a strange product.
So I want to show you, but last week's video is still in its live premiere mode, so I can't go back in time.
Yeah.
So I'll show you what I did in a few minutes because it's almost done. It was like an hour 24. So I told Tila and I told Melissa that I was doing it, and I did a little rough test just to see. It's fun. It's interesting. I didn't really change all that much.
Okay.
And you looked good. So
what did you do?
I want to show you. So just wait, and it'll be done, and then I'll show you.
The anticipation is boring.
What?
It's a whole lot of...
I have a question for you.
What's that?
Yesterday, we went to go see a house that you framed.
Yes. A house, by the way, that's selling for just over $1 million.
Just under. It was reduced. She told me that when we walked in.
Well, the pamphlet said over $1 million.
Yes, but she said don't look at the pamphlet. It hasn't been updated yet.
Oh, thank goodness. 900 something.
Yeah, Perfect. It was like $995.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, on a house that's 1 point...
Whatever. You're saving $10,000 or something. Whatever.
It's true.
It's not.
I think it was more than $10,000. Yeah. I think it was $1,037,000.
No, it wasn't that much. I don't know. Whatever. Continue your point.
What was it like going to a house that you framed that was done?
It's interesting
because I'm sure that's the first one you've actually went completely.
That is the first house that I have been to that I was part of the building process that was furnished and had been lived in for about 2 years.
So it's one of your first houses, ish.
Well, ish. Yeah, I'm maybe exaggerating a little bit. I'd say it was probably. It wasn't quite 2 years. Maybe it was closer to a little bit over a year that the person had lived in there, because that was probably something like maybe my 15th to 20th house that I worked on. It was interesting. I have been in houses that I've worked on that were close to finish, close to being able to turn it over to the customer. They got tiles on, they're painted, they have all this kind of stuff set up, but I've never been in one that had been lived in. It was interesting. They finished the basement. I didn't have anything to do with that. They hired out a different framing crew to do all of the basements in the entire Thundering Waters subdivision. But it was cool.
What a powerful name.
Thundering Waters, yes. They tend to have decent names for their areas for Mountain View Homes. I like Mountain View Homes. I'm glad I'm building houses under their name.
Well, good.
I think if I had to pick another one I like in the region that I don't really have any association with, but I just see from a distance, Rinaldi. People to recognize Rinaldi Homes' name.
It's a big...
Empire have built stuff for them. Don't like Empire. Don't buy an Empire house.
Okay.
Not a good idea.
When you buy a house...
I wonder if that's slander. I don't know. I don't care.
That is...
I don't like them. They got foam exteriors. They're not sheeted properly. There's a lot of bullshit on their sites.
Like what? Are you giving actual...
Ooh, this is a story. Okay, this is good.
Okay. Empire Homes.
We were out in Hamilton yeah, perfect. We were building a townhouse.
Now.
Yes, we were building a townhouse, and they had something had changed. The site supervisor was changed. I don't remember why the old one had left, and I didn't even know who he was. He never came up and talked to us for like the few days or week or so that we were building, and he was there, but he left. And new site supervisor came, and he called everybody over for a meeting. There was tons of people. It was kind of unorganized. We're trying to like all get over to this area or whatever. And then this guy comes on. And he sounded like a real piece of work. He starts just going off about who he is as a person. And one of the iconic lines that because he was talking about safety related things that are actually important to us for the most part. And one of his lines, and I quote, was, "I don't give a fuck about safety." And he said it in like a serious-ish kind of way. But then, as soon as that was done, he immediately went on to describe all the things he cares about safety for. And it became a little bit of a running joke, because this guy was a bit of a joke. And one of the times, we were having a conversation with another crew or somebody that had been there for a long time, knew what was going on, seemed like a great guy, actually. And he was talking about this guy, because we were asking a question. He's like, "Oh, yeah, he's a great guy, this, that, and the other." And he's like, "Yeah, he really doesn't give a fuck about safety," or something like that. Like, weird to say that again in that way. And he's like, "Yeah, I saw him go from his truck over to the whatever without a hard hat on, walking across the street." And as soon as this guy left, we're like, "Holy this guy walked across the fucking street without a hard hat on. Oh my God." Which for the most part, I mean, people, if you're gonna walk to the shitter or something, nobody really is gonna yell at you for
you're gonna wear a hard hat.
No. Yeah, Empire's weird. I guess a more detailed piece of information as to why I personally, and this is my opinion, don't like their construction style is the way that they sheet stuff with foam on the outside instead of like OSB or plywood. Structurally, it is weaker, and my evidence to that is if you want to look up homes that collapse in windstorms in the region of Niagara or Hamilton, you will almost indefinitely always see houses with blue sheeted siding collapsed all over the ground.
That photo that I sent you yesterday.
That was something else. But they have no shear strength against the wind. And yes, they put in wind bracing and they have all this fancy shit that they talk about that they're still structurally sound. And maybe the foam is good for some kind of thermal, your R values or whatever. But their houses do not go together in a way that is very sensible, even from a layman framer's perspective.
Well, that's not good.
No, I don't. And they're cheap. You get what you pay for. They're cheap. They're cheaper than Mountain View's homes. They're cheaper than Rinaldi. You get what you pay for.
Well, because you said it was your opinion, that makes it commentary.
Perfect.
It is not slander. You're
it's okay. We could start a GoFundMe to fund my legal fund, anyways, and maybe we'll get like a few bucks. Something.
It'd be funny.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Could you imagine the one thing that we get noticed for is you get sued by Empire Construction?
It'd be funny. I couldn't pick a better company to get sued from. Maybe Mountain View Homes could intercede. I like Mountain View Homes. Great people.
Why would they intercede?
I don't know. It'd be a bad publicity on Empire for just suing a random fucking guy that didn't like their houses.
Yes, I think I don't. It'd be weird.
It would be extremely weird in this hypothetical situation that
Because
probably is
hypothetically,
never going to happen to anybody.
They serve you with a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. We can say, well, tell you what, we'll take down the video, and only like 15 people have heard this complaint.
It's true. You can't really wage much damages when we don't have much of a viewership.
Like you said with the music industry, they're claiming billions of dollars in damages, and
The only weight that carried for we had to talk about LimeWire and how they were suing people for proliferating their music. You got to mute whatever that is, please.
it's you, by the way.
I know. You got to mute it. Yeah, they were claiming that basically based on downloads, which is absurd because...
Downloads don't equal purchases.
Nope. People that might pirate music may never purchase it to begin with, so you just have to argue the case that for some reason they do equate. So this video is live and able to show something now?
It was live. Now it's not.
Okay.
Whatever.
Hopefully I can see what this is immediately. Are you animated? How much of this did you animate?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Not long.
That doesn't look anything like me. Why is he like a orange-haired afro?
Because they're simple cartoons.
Oh, come on. You can do better than that. Your hair is not accurate at all either, but...
Well, basically, I took the assets from the old Beatties cartoon, which I had my asset.
I see.
So I didn't change myself.
Your hairstyle was different back then.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
But
We gotta mute.
it's fun.
Yeah. Were you actually wearing a red shirt? Hey, you got the chart from the background. And your TV. And the light. Nice. Go check out last week's episode if you want to actually hear the audio from it in a coherent manner.
So yeah, it was just something. It took a little bit longer than normal, which is why I only did 5 minutes, because it took a lot longer than I expected. But I mean,
Animation took longer than you expected?
well, I thought I had a really good idea of how long it would take.
Yeah.
I was wrong. So if you actually wanted to try one time, you could make a cartoon character that you're happy with.
Could. I think I would probably be more likely to hire somebody that is good at drawing the cartoon.
We know somebody.
Do we?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know who it is off the top of my head necessarily.
She's going to be your in-law.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
She's drawn you once before.
She has? That's... I don't remember. Oh. No, I don't know.
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember. That's okay. Now you gotta look it up.
Yes, I will. But my
There's
question...
so many diversions of things that our audience can't see this episode.
Well, I will put the picture on the screen now.
Perfect.
When you are talking about your preference for Mountain View versus Empire,
Yep.
you work for a company, and the company is called...
JMC Framing.
Right.
Yes.
And they're contractors specifically for Mountain View, right? Or anybody. Like
We can work for whoever we want to.
So, would your opinion... You've worked for Empire?
Yes.
Okay. So you
And my boss, who owns the company, has worked for Empire for a long period of time relative to me. We didn't do more than one house or one set of townhouses for them, which is evident because we didn't like the way that things were going, at least on this particular site. Yeah, people drift around from builder to builder. A lot of even framers get a little bit too full of themselves sometimes, and they might think that they're too good for some engineer's idea or whatever way to do things. So, and that's on the framer to some degree, but at the same time, it's also part of the builder and who's supervising the site and how easily you can get along with people. That makes a difference.
So in your experience, is there a giant wage gap for framers, or are you kind of at your equal?
What do you mean wage gap? Like what
Well,
an employee gets paid or what a builder pays a contractor?
no, specifically for framers. Do you think you're at the low end, high end, or right in the middle?
Of other trades?
No, for framers, like the actual framing.
Oh, how much
position.
do I get paid relative to other
Yeah.
framers? I think I'm doing okay. I've only been doing it for slightly less than 2 years. and I'm not making anything close to minimum wage. I'm making a lot more than that, so I'm quite happy. I do know that much more experienced framers of perhaps 4 or 5 years can make more, although I do know framers of 4 or 5 years that perhaps lacked in skills a little bit and got paid very similarly to what I get paid. They had more skills and more independence, which means they might maybe pull another $1 or $2 at most an hour, but by 5 years experience, you'd hope that somebody is a go-getter and can like lead people and is very organized
and is worth the extra.
And they would command probably significantly more than what I make.
Do you, when you get raises, is it voluntary on your boss's part, or do you ask for them?
I have only asked for one raise at the beginning, the whole time that I've been framing, and I haven't had to since. So, and that's a lot. Like I like my boss and I like the way he does things, but I think a lot of construction jobs are kind of like that. They go up quickly in pace, especially ones that are not education based, like not electricians, plumbers, all that. More so trades where you get into it by social connections or just applying to jobs as an unskilled laborer to begin with, and you get the skills for the job later. So framing you don't need any education to get into. If somebody's trying to get you to go into a carpentry school or something and you want to do rough carpentry like framing, just go to the field, just do it. Some high schools have programs where you get to build a house or something. That's okay, I guess. They learn really slow. Every once in a while we'll work in a subdivision where one of the houses gets given to a school, and the teacher will be the boss essentially and be able to tell all the students what to do and whatever. They have some experience with carpentry, obviously. But they build a house over the span of about 2 months, sometimes, maybe more, that a crew of relatively experienced framers could knock out in like a week and a half. So it's very slow.
It's slow, but it's like, as soon as you were mentioning that, it's like going to Niagara College for dentistry. They have to go slow because they're being graded on it.
It's also, I get the vibe that the teachers they might know carpentry, but they don't know how to efficiently frame a house. They don't know that. They know how to do it and have it done right, so it's structurally sound, all the things are done properly safety-wise, but they don't know how to be efficient.
Does the cost of that house get reduced because it was done by students?
It's the same as any other house. It just takes a lot longer to make. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between it and a house that anybody else built. There's lots of variance between framers. Like some of the stuff that we do is kind of optional, because there's a certain level that needs to be met for certain things, for like, let's just say drywall backing, or you got to do certain things for other trades to attach their stuff to. But that's the minimum. You can go above and beyond. You can do things in a slightly different way as long as the end goal is the same, or the end result's the same. If you want to structure some part of the roof entirely differently than how the other guy's doing it, but it'll look the exact same in the end, it's probably okay. Probably, as long as it's structurally sound and you know what you're doing as a framer. There's lots of different ways to do things. This picture. Who drew? I don't know who drew that.
That was Heather.
It was Heather.
Yeah. Way back when. Obviously, Connor's in the picture.
She's pretty good at drawing. Yeah.
She is. Justin looks a little Asian, but she tends to draw him on the Asian side, anyways.
Maybe he should do some ancestry stuff and see if there's any in him.
You can see. I can see Connor.
You got a big sort of. I don't know.
Forehead?
Big forehead and
like
eyebrow,
I do.
like a jutting forehead.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if her drawing style is suitable to use in animation, but
it's not. I can try to find somebody who might be able to do it.
Yeah, that's okay. This is a hypothetical conversation. It's not. We don't need an animator for the podcast unless people are that bored.
It was a fun little. 5 minutes.
Lots of podcasts do it where they have excerpts and they have an animated short.
I thought of
an animated
just with
adventure.
What I did, I thought, because we tell stories. So if I went in and picked like 1 or 2 stories that you tell or I tell and quickly animate it over the narration, it might be funny.
It would be funny. It has to be done well for you to bother doing it all. You should look at Rooster Teeth's animated adventures, because it's a very simplistic kind of animation style, but it's hilarious. And I say simplistic. It probably takes tons of time still to do it, although there's been one person in charge of it for a very long time. He does a great job. There's ways of animating stuff efficiently yet keeping it funny. And I think it should be saved for the funny things. It's a way of having humor. You can't animate something serious. Just doesn't really feel right for a podcast.
Or for anything. I can't think of too many serious.
And well, there's actual cartoons that, of course, that are of a serious nature, not comedy based, that are animated.
True.
Yeah. Movies too.
Were you ever on a website called spill.com? No. They were one of the first podcasts I ever listened to. Way back when they had their own proprietary audio streaming player, I suppose. And they were a movie review website. But they would also have free podcasts. There was a couple of cold ones, and Let's Do This. One of the podcasters ended up being one of the people I interviewed in college, ended up writing Sinister and also Doctor Strange, the Marvel movie.
Very interesting.
Yes. But very interesting long-form podcast when it was still kind of new. They were doing 3-hour shows sometimes. They were hilarious. But their movie reviews, which were typically 5 minutes long, were all animated. And it was cool. But they no longer exist. So,
like, you can't find them anywhere?
No, the website went down. They exist under a different name. The animation is different. And they've kind of went the paywall route. Where to view anything you need to pay. And it's unfortunate.
It's hard to discover content like that, I would say. If you are in the in and you want to pay for it, of course you could still enjoy great content, but it's difficult to recommend it to people, let alone have people just discover it organically.
Yes, I mean, for that, you have to give away a little bit of free to get people hooked, at least to know who you are. If I didn't know who these people were, I wouldn't know. That there's a paywall to even go to. So, I don't know. Thankfully, a funny thing happened on the way to the podcast is always free, and you can listen to it on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Google Play.
It'll be free forever. We'll never charge for this.
Right. Never, ever, ever.
Curious what kind of reaction they've got. Who the hell wants to pay for a podcast? That's a ridiculous thing.
Are there paid for podcasts?
I'm sure that there are, but how successful are they is kind of my interest. And also, success being purely viewership or like engagement. I don't know. I don't think it would help you to be a paid
I feel like
podcast.
at this point, Alex Jones would have paid for podcasts.
Maybe. There needs to... I'd say that I'm okay with sort of a division where sometimes people who pay get to watch them live, whereas people who don't pay don't. And perhaps those people who do watch them live get to, I don't know, send stuff from Twitter or something and have like some level of interactivity. If you're paying for some extended feature of it, I guess that makes sense. But and you better have a damn interesting show. Like nobody's gonna want to pay for this. There's no point.
Not yet. No. If we theoretically, and this is meta talk with Jesse and Eric.
Yeah. There's been a lot of that this podcast.
Whatever.
They probably left.
Tila
if they
doesn't
don't like
complain about it anymore. She complains when we mention her, but she never complains about when we go meta, except she will this time because we called it out.
Yep.
If we somehow manage to have a guest every single episode,
Oh, that'd be good.
that there's merit there,
Yeah.
which is a nice segue to the fact that at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will.
It's true. We got a couple guests lined up.
Yes.
We've said that before and not had guests, Rob, but
Yes, I know. It's difficult. Some
is
people don't just...
I don't blame you. You've essentially secured every single guest we've ever had for the podcast, with the exception of maybe Antea.
I picked her up the first time.
I guess. And I guess we also both knew G, and there's a few exceptions, I guess, but you talk to them mostly. So yeah, I don't talk. I need a more social job, and that's, I don't know. If for whatever reason I have to stop framing at some point, whether even if it's in years from now, I got to pick something that's more social and something I can do where I meet new people and learn new things like that.
It's interesting. Occasionally I feel like it, but when I spend a lot of time in Tillsonburg, smaller town, obviously, by pretty much like
An order of magnitude?
yes,
Almost.
based compared to St. Catharines. But it's no joke when I say everybody knows my father. And in turn, for the longest time, everybody knew me. They don't so much anymore. It's very weird. When I went back there after college, like during summer or reading week or whatnot, I couldn't go to the mall because people would stop and talk. They knew I was gone, and I came back. Now I can't because they don't care. It's been 10 years, which is depressing, but I still talk to the people that I know or know me or recognize me. Not that I'm one to be recognized, but you know what I mean. They recognize and remember me. But I wonder if it'll ever get to that point. St. Catharines is a lot bigger, so in some circles I know people, and in some situations it has been very surreal where I'm eating dinner somewhere and somebody that I know from somewhere else will call me out, or when we were at the Mandarin for the Christmas dinner and the people sitting right across from us were customers of mine from last year. So in that case, the opportunity to run into people that I know is quite high, but also low, depending on your odds of meeting them. But it's interesting.
What was the point of this conversation?
I don't know.
Trying to figure that out most of the
Oh,
time.
you wanting a more social?
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't talk to many people. Not really out of choice. I don't really have any social apprehension with talking to people.
I like meeting new people. I admit it's a lot harder than I thought. I now have everything I need to go to businesses and start selling them business cards and stuff. It's hard. It's hard to walk in and introduce. It's not illegal. I checked. You're not soliciting unless it says no soliciting. You're allowed to go in and just say hi, ask if they're willing to talk.
And the no soliciting signs will pop up everywhere.
Yes. But I'm not unpleasant. I'm not scamming them. I'm
No.
giving them a brochure for $50 business cards or whatever. But the social aspect of the job is very, very interesting and sometimes hard to handle. That's why going to the places that I knew, like Submission Subs, was a good first start. 'Cause
Icebreaker.
I already know them.
Hey, we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that we were eating their subs. It's a cool place for cheap subs.
Any business that exists today that specifically competes and survives against a huge franchise business is doing something right.
Yeah. I think that their up cost is probably a lot lower than most places, it
Yes.
seems. I knew them really early on. I don't know how long they were on.
When they were in their broom closet,
Yeah.
that was a small space.
Cheap, though. For under $8, you could have 2 subs. And,
Yes.
and now it's a bit more. It's like close to 10. But they're still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting startup. I think it'd be cool to get an interview maybe out of one of...
I have a feeling that Claude would actually do
I
it.
think so. Because it's an interesting startup story, I'm sure. There's something to it. They definitely have caught on. Like, very quickly, I would talk to people, and they're like, yeah, I know that place. People just stop in, and I guess they like a cheap sub.
As I grow older, I like small businesses that find a way to succeed. Maybe I have vested interest in that. I don't know. But it's nice to see somebody that's succeeding, that is, from what I understand, and if we do an interview, he can correct me, but I don't think Claude has always been in the sandwich industry. No. So I'm assuming...
I don't know how many people who own fast food and just food restaurants in general. Well, no, I'll go with fast food. How many people that have fast food restaurants necessarily have a passion for fast food? It's it is a business decision a lot.
The only fast food restaurants that I really know in depth is the A&W in Tillsonburg, the A&W in St. Catharines. The A&W in St. Catharines, they did not have a history of fast food. They were a group of franchisees. All they were the money, and then they managed it and failed. The Tillsonburg A&W, They had two franchisees that were split down the middle. Both of them had came from a history of A&W. So they were A&W through and through. The female franchisee had worked at A&W her entire working career, thanks to her aunt who owned a restaurant. So she also got to see the business side of it very, very early. So she obviously had a passion for the company, which therefore, I mean, you kind of have to have a passion for fast food if you have a passion for a fast food company. And then the other franchisee, he kind of the same story, although I think he'd worked for corporate for a while, so same thing. So you can, but for a mom and pop sub shop, I'm assuming he didn't. He's very into other I mean, not that in a normal conversation you would be like, well, you know, I'm very into sandwiches. That's my thing.
It's got to be a little bit of a tactical decision too, because it meets several things. Like, one, what can we produce? What can we make? And I guess subs were on the list of things that they could do if they wanted to get into the food industry. But two, what niche could be filled? That can decide a little bit too.
So what niche are they filling? Let's do a case study
It's
here.
cheap food. I would argue that it's probably healthier than like the name brand subs, because they're not selling you like tons of chips. I guess they sell pop and stuff.
They do.
They're and in the location that they are, it's not the highest income area.
Oh.
If people there want to regularly consume food out of their home, because maybe they're busy people or maybe that's just how they want to live their lives, it's an option that I'm sure lots of them pick.
From the reviews on their Facebook page, yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, and in that area, the closest thing food-wise is like a Tim Hortons and other things that aren't so much like a could be fast food, could be sit down and eat. It's a little bit of a plastic kind of option where you have choices, I would say. It's different than anything I know in that area. It's between the downtown sector and it's between like big box sort of sector. And then the other direction, there's a whole lot of nothing. So it's in the middle of, it's in a good location for what it is.
That is true. And when they did move, they still stayed
very close to where they were.
Yes, which is smart because in their original advertising, they were very into advertising to that area. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the area where they are, for some visual representation, we could put something up on the screen. There's a Tim Hortons down the street, although it's quite a way down the street. If it's summertime, way down the street, there's a Dairy Queen.
That is really far away.
But way down the street, there's a Dairy Queen.
I've been there. That Dairy Queen has not kept to the same standards, I would argue, as many other Dairy Queens.
No.
And it's also a...
Best Dairy Queen is on Hartzell.
Yep. A lot better than
the franchisee. He's a guy that I should go in and ask because he seems like an interesting guy. He's there. He enjoys it. He must have a passion for ice cream in the company. He has made it so much better because he's just there and laughing
Dairy
and joking.
Queen's an exciting place probably to have a franchise of. I like the way that they market themselves. I like the constant introduction of new products. They're always associated with lots of like movies and things. And their ice cream, I've never really been disappointed by their ice cream in general. The only thing that's disappointed me is some of the places that are older and have refused to update things, and they seem a little bleak and maybe not that well cleaned, and that's a bit of an issue with some Dairy Queens.
Except for the one in Port Colborne,
which is its own thing.
Which is its own, we've talked about this, but its own little vintage Dairy Queen. It's a blast from the past. Yeah. It has all the modern blizzards, but that's it. Dairy Queen would be interesting. Franchises in general can be good, but I don't know. If I were to open up a restaurant, I'd probably go the submission sub route, the mom and pop, because there's merit there.
The interesting thing too that they hit on is, like I said, I don't think the startup cost and the cost of running it is going to be nearly that of, say, a startup restaurant on St. Paul Street. And what happens to most startup restaurants in St. Paul Street? They close in like 3 to 10 months.
Well, yes.
Somewhere in that range.
But because the food industry, the restaurant industry rather, is such a low markup at the end of the day. After you take into consideration...
It is a lot lower than a lot of other industries.
Yes, because... Yeah, food costs, typically you can make a high margin on food purchasing, but once you take into consideration the cost of the cooking, the power, the rent, you're not making a ton per.
So you got to sell volume at that point.
You need volume or you need cheap rent, because rent right off the bat can be an incredibly high standard cost. No matter how much business you do, this is an expense. And if you're paying $2,000 a month for prime St. Paul real estate, that's, I mean, right there.
We say prime, but a lot of areas of St. Paul are not that prime really anymore.
I bet you they're still charging around that, though.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not even going to bet you. I know they're charging around that, though. So submission subs, $10 per. If you assumed that they were on St. Paul Street, I don't know what their markup would be, but if $5 from every $9 thing went to the rent, even then.
Oh, it would hurt like crazy. Yeah, it wouldn't work. What they have wouldn't work, I don't think, on that street. And it doesn't really matter, too, because, again, they're within walking distance of a considerable population, and it is the kind of thing that you would walk to. We could pick on a friend a little bit. Mugs and Meeples is a different kind of business that's in that exact same area. I love Mugs and Meeples. I don't know if its location helps it as much.
There's probably room for a case study
Because there's another board game.
between Mugs and Meeples and Ludology.
Yes.
Now, the two are different. First off, I'm happy to announce that Mugs and Meeples, they're actually doing construction on the escape room.
Yes.
It's being done.
That's
now.
fantastic.
So that is amazing. However, there's some differences between the two. Ludology is marketing itself as a restaurant and board game place. The restaurant is restaurant first. It looks like a decent place to go have dinner.
Yes, it does look like that.
And then there are
Got a
board
nice
games.
bar.
Mugs and Meeples originally was supposed to be an escape room place with a board game cafe attached. Because of bureaucratic reasons, it had to be a board game cafe first and then escape room. So we'll never know how well it would have done had the original vision come to be. What we know is now. I would say that now they're a cafe first and eatery second. So they're definitely a cafe first, eatery second. So the competition, the business is slightly different. Ludology is more expensive.
Yes.
It's in a more prime place.
It is.
And yes, they both serve alcohol, but you're more likely to get people on an Ice Dogs night to go to Ludology than you ever would.
Yes, they're not people from an Ice Dog saying aren't going to go there. Although you do get a little bit of the sketchier clientele that is in that area coming in that will actually order a drink, funny enough, and that's all they order.
I told George I was there on Wednesday night
Strange.
working for him, and another guy came in, sat down,
Same thing.
ordered 2 beers, and left. And I told George, I'm like, when I was there running it by myself, I had that once every few nights where they'd come in for beer, they'd come in for hot chocolate, they wouldn't play, and I left. I'm like, do you get that? He said, no, but I'd like to get that more because
the markup on that's better.
the markup on it's better. Because of the type of business that it is, at least Mugs and Meeples, you don't want it to ever just be a bar crowd, and it never will be.
No.
But to have people come in, have a beer or two, and just go on their phone for a little bit, which is what the guy on Wednesday night did. Sure. Yeah, then spend $12. They're both different. I think Ludology is a restaurant first because it knows that it needs to be on St. Paul Street. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it's good. I have not been there. I have not tried
Let's
it.
go there. Let's give it a shot because I like the atmosphere that I can see from the outside.
It looks neat.
It does look neat.
And
I like their tables for playing games and stuff too. They're
yeah,
well thought out.
and then Mugs and Meeples, it's interesting. I get it. It took me a long time to get it. I know why board game cafes are good because I saw a father and his daughter come in, and the father seemed kind of grumpy. They both got something to, not alcohol, but they both got something to drink and they started playing. And by the end of it, they were laughing and having fun. So, I mean, it's a service. It's good. I mean, to sit down and even if you're playing something stupid like Operation, it's a very nostalgic game, but it can be fun and it can cause smiles. So I see why it exists. It's not much of a case study. They're both different. George's overhead costs have to be lower than something downtown St. Catharines. And I'm pretty sure that Lidology is also a double unit.
Yeah,
Or was it? No, what was in there before? It was that Chinese restaurant that we went to once, right?
It was some kind of restaurant like that. It was set up differently. I think it is a double unit.
So you're more expensive there, not twice as
The
expensive.
seating area wasn't open originally. It was just a restaurant. I don't know what was in it before on the seating side, but yeah, it's all opened up now.
But no, that's interesting. Hopefully it succeeds. It's one of those things where it's hit or miss. I drove past and it's quite full, and I drive past and it's empty. But I think a lot of businesses are like that too.
Yeah, peak times of the day.
Yeah. I wonder what their hours are. They're downtown. They should be open for lunch.
I think we'll look into that and we'll go. I think this is a good time to wrap up for the night.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually get some work done editing some stuff tonight, so
Perfect.
I look forward to doing that. I'm quite in pain. I got hit in the face with a 2x4 today, which was right above my eye. But
So you burnt your tongue.
oh yeah, I've had a lot of accidents in the past couple days. It's going okay. Anyways, have a good night.
Have a good night. Talk later.